Do you want to work in anime? I saw Akira in 1988. Didn't understand it. Do you want to do audiobooks? I studied the Canterbury Tales in Middle English 25 years ago. Or maybe you want to work in commercials, and I have a TV. Most voice actors will tell you that when you start out, the first thing that you need to do before you record any demos or pitch for any work is to work with a reputable coach. But just as there has been an explosion of people who want to be voice actors because of the advent of home studios, so there has also been a similar explosion in the number of people who call themselves voiceover coaches. Hey, even I have a coaching tab on my website, and I have no idea what I'm talking about. That's British sarcasm, by the way. The risks are obvious. If you don't make the right investment, then you can end up wasting a huge amount of money, and also you might risk actually picking up more bad habits than good if that person doesn't actually know what they're talking about. And I'd say the one red flag that I would definitely raise is if someone talks to you about training with them purely in terms of recording a demo, getting a demo done, especially if that's in the course of a week or a month or a day or a weekend or anything else like that. They're very much looking at the end product of demo production because that costs the most money typically, and that isn't what you should be focusing on when you're training with a good coach. It's about increasing your skill set first and foremost. So here's my checklist of 5 questions that you should be asking when looking for a voiceover coach. The first question to ask is, do they align with your goals? If you want to work in video games, then you need to find the best voiceover coaches that work in video games. If you want to work in commercials, then you need to know the best voiceover coaches who are working in the commercial sphere right now, because they're completely different animals. Yes, there are going to be some voiceover coaches who may be able to offer an introduction, who may specialize in a number of different genres, and I certainly worked with one brilliant voiceover coach, Diane Perry, who works in a number of different genres, but even she specializes in certain sectors, specifically animation, as well as corporate and commercial to a degree as well. So make sure that you're very clear about what your aims are. If your voiceover coach that you're considering is also a voice actor, are they working in that genre now? If they are not a voice actor, but maybe they're a casting director who's become a coach, or is, any combination of 3 or 4 different kind of roles, then make sure that they know and are currently working in the sphere that you're interested in. Otherwise, it's completely pointless, because those specialisms the difference between promo work and audiobooks, for example, is huge. The second question is asking what their reputation is within the industry. And that's not just by asking on internet forums, although that's a good way of accumulating a long list first of all. But for the short listing, you should actually ask people directly for referrals. Literally email people that you know have worked with a particular coach and ask them what it was like to work with them, whether or not they truly recommend them. Because if you do just rely on online forums and online recommendations, then people have their own reputations that they want to maintain. They have other agendas going on. Very rarely will people openly admit that they worked with such and such a coach, and in actual fact it wasn't as great as they thought it was, or their investment was actually unwise. So make sure that you have multiple references of people maybe with as wide different experiences as possible, so that they can vouch directly for working with that coach. The next question to ask is whether or not their current students are actually booking now. There's no point in working with someone who is teaching about commercial copy from 20 years ago, because 20-year-old commercial copy is very different to commercial copy now. So you need people who are responding to changes within the industry. They know what kind of trends are playing around with, and therefore how you might fit into that ecology as well. So make sure to check that their current students are booking in the genres that they're supposed to be. See whether or not they're being nominated for any awards for their work as well. The One Voice Awards, the Voice Arts Awards, the Vox Awards, they're all kind of like good reference points that'll vouch that the people that they're training up for certain types of work are actually booking that kind of work as well. The fourth thing to check is that they offer an exploratory session as a first lesson. It can always be exciting to kind of make a huge commitment up front with a new coach because you want to get going as soon as possible. But I do recommend that you spend a bit more time and a bit more investment up front to trial 3 or 4 different coaches in a specific area so that you can get a sense of whether or not you gel with that person or not, rather than immediately committing up front. It can be especially have that feeling of obligation if you don't have that discussion up front at the end of that first lesson to go like, okay, so let's move on to your next lesson in this whole kind of trajectory. So you can suddenly find yourself committing to a whole program that you weren't absolutely sure that you wanted to commit to. So make sure when you do contact these coaches up front and are asking them various questions, make sure to make it clear that you are trialing different voiceover coaches and that it is going to be a trial as a first lesson, and then they can explain to you how they might want to continue after that. I'd say if there is a coach who has any uncertainty about allowing you to have a trial lesson, then that shows that they're not convinced that their teaching will do the talking for them, and that would be another red flag. The 5th and final thing to check is whether or not that teaching style really does work with you, or whether or not you have an issue with it in some way. Do they offer a full curriculum that you have to go through step by step? And if so, how many steps is that in total, so you know what that level of investment is? Or do they assess where you are now and tailor their teaching towards you? Do they work in person exclusively? Do they work remotely, but they want you to have a video link as well so they can see what they're doing with your body? Or do they only work via phone instead? All of these are open questions which you need to kind of bear in mind whilst you're going through the lessons themselves, so you can feel what you're comfortable with. Ultimately, you want to feel stretched. You want to feel excited. You want to feel as if you're learning new skills and that you're being that's being put into action. If you feel as if there's being too much waffle that's going on during a particular lesson rather than cutting to the chase of the actual practice, or you feel as if certain aspects are being shoehorned in which you already know, then again, those are things to just be aware of. But ultimately, you want to make sure that you're finding it an enjoyable process, and it's a two-way process, and it's going to be something that facilitates your learning in the long term. If this video has been of any use to you, please do like, subscribe, spread the word, add a comment below, and I'll see you next week.